Hey Ian, you ready?
You bet I am. What are we talking about tonight? And talk about guns?
If it's not a 30 cal, I'm not in.
Jeez, mate, that's not very inclusive. Have you seen Jono?
Hey Jono, you ready?
Well, God knows where he is, mate. He's probably caught up in the neighbour's wire again. You ready to go? Let's do this.
Mate, I'm ready. Let's crank it up.
Righto then. Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of the Hunters Campfire, where we're going to talk about all things hunting and the great outdoors. And we'll probably throw in a few tips along the way.
You want a tip? Say it once, say it 1,000 times. Goats love rocks.
Or a few things about deer. Mark, what do you reckon about deer?
As a deer hunter, I love hunting pigs.
Well, that's about as useful as I expected it to be. Oh, check it out. Here comes Jono. He's being chased by the neighbour's dog.
Okay guys, let's get this started. Welcome to the Hunters Campfire. Pull up a chair, get comfortable. It's time for the Hunters Campfire.
People wanting to come along, that, you know, we might get 30% of the spots, maybe 40% of the spots. Turns out that we got somewhere like 19, or we got 18 out of the 20 available spots for Nundle, and quite a few of the other parks around it as well as the second bookings. And then someone contacted me and said, hey, really keen to come too. I've got my booking. What do I do? So he was 19. And then today, this fella, it was yesterday, so this fella contacted me and said, I'm going to Nundle for the Rut. What time are you guys going? It's like exactly the same date. So he completes the set. He's not going to be the lonely hunter wandering around by himself. Someone asked him on our chat, because I checked him on our chat group. Did you just book by yourself? Yep, there weren't any other spots.
It was like, I was up at 11 o'clock just on the website. We had my iPad. And
this poor guy that's probably never gone hunting in state forest before, or hasn't had a lot of experience in it.
I think he said it was his second trip, if I remember correctly.
Gearing up to go by himself in the Rut in winter in Nundle, and now he's got 25 blokes to camp with.
That's right. He's like that guy who just sleeps through the storm and just wakes up. Oh, did something happen? There's all this going around, and he's just happily just moving along by himself.
At least we know that it's not going to be some pissed off local. That's all. We're going to have Forest all booked out to our group, which is good.
I reckon we might still have a couple of locals around, but
Yeah,
we'll certainly make the job easier for our DPI. I'll make DPI Ranger to find everyone in one hit.
Yeah, one camp, just drive in. Can I check your permits? Bang, 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 done.
Yeah.
Yeah. So shout out to Lachlan if he's listening. Good on you for getting in contact and joining the crew. So
Closing the loop, as it were.
yeah, fantastic.
Hilarious. Well, I just saw that and went, that's just amazing. He's just like kind of walked in. Oh, I didn't know this was a party.
Imagine
I
it.
thought I was the only one here. Look at that. Everyone's here. So it's just...
Tell you what, the Easter crowd's not going to know Ponderosa.
Mm.
There'll be no hunters in Ponderosa this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, the foragers and the fossickers are going to walk in, trying to find the hunters, and there's going to be no one there.
That's right. There was the Belgian crew that show up every year for foraging, coming out of the venison with us.
For the mushrooms, yeah.
Hope they bring their own meals.
And the truffles and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So
anyway, it's going to be good. It's going to be good. Speaking of hunt camp, I'll tell you a funny story about today. I was messaging someone about some gear that they were going to donate into the hunt camp prize pool. So we got a whole bunch of prizes and things out there. And it turns out I was messaging the wrong bloke. I was messaging by accident Bill from High Country Hunting Australia, the Facebook group. And he said, I think you're messaging the wrong person about merch. We haven't had a conversation about this, but I'll donate some stuff. That sounds like a great idea. So all of a sudden we've got this cool conversation going on with Bill. G'day, Bill. And he's dumped a whole bunch of stuff on Hunt Camp. So I assumed, incorrectly again, so I've assumed I'm talking to the wrong guy. Then I've assumed that Bill from High Country Hunting must have been in Victoria. You often see him on Facebook. He's given stuff away. He's at a shop And I figured he's in his shop and he's giving stuff away. And High Country Hunting, usually High Country talks about Victoria. Turns out he's in Minchinbury in Sydney.
So he's High Country Hunters Australia?
He's High Country Hunters Australia.
That's right.
Got that right.
I'm about to join his group.
Yeah, so everyone, because Bill's such a good fella, go and check out High Country Hunters Australia and join up to his Facebook group. Apparently it's the fastest growing hunting group on Facebook in Australia. Go join it. Get part of it.
Cool.
Bill's a good fella.
Nice.
Okay.
And so we'll have some merch in camp, will we?
We're gonna have like 13 or 14 caps, some t-shirts, some hoodies, some bits and pieces that he's given us. Just because I accidentally contacted him in the wrong conversation thread. So what a good fella. So he works at Complete Angler in Minchinbury near Penrith, and he runs the hunting section of the Complete Angler. What's it called? Complete Angler and Camping World at Minchinbury. He runs the hunting section. So go and see him if you're in Sydney. He's now your new favourite guy. Sort him out. That'd be good. Thanks, Bill.
Well,
I've just joined High Country Hunters Australia, so I'm hoping. Hi, Bill. Thanks for the ad. It must be the right one. There we go. Oh, actually, it's you. Hi, Bill. Thanks for the ad. Hurls. Okay, there you go. I'm reading your post. So good. I've joined the right group.
It's the right group.
There we go.
I think I joined the right group.
Yeah, well, we're both in the same group. If it's the wrong group, we're both in there.
We love it. Anyway, I think it's awesome how people get behind these initiatives. Like we run these camps. We're not charging people money. We're just trying to get people hunting, and everyone's getting them behind it. So, yeah, it's unreal. We won't stop the flow of merch yet.
No. And yeah, more giveaways. People are going to need a trailer to bring it home with.
It's crazy. It's crazy the amount of kippers.
That's it. Yeah, it's fantastic.
And it was confirmed today. I know we're talking to a bunch of people that probably aren't going to hunt camp, so you're going to get jealous here. Zoleo gave us a Zoleo. If you don't know what that is, that's the satellite communication navigation SOS extraordinaire piece of equipment. But they've given us the device and they've given us a subscription to go with it because it is a subscription-based unit. But we also had one that we wanted to give away, so they've leveled up and they've given a subscription for that one as well.
Is that the one just over your shoulder?
Sitting over here.
Yeah.
That's our giveaway that we've got in our kit to give away, but they've given us a subscription to sit on top of it.
Lovely.
So that's really cool. And for those that haven't used them, I think I'm getting 8 or 9 Zoleos to pass around in camp for people to use, take with them, link to the app, go and play with them, see what they think. So
that's awesome.
It's going to be a good learn and share. Yeah,
fantastic.
Good.
Cool.
So that was my fun for the day. What else happening?
I think the big news is Valhalla Tactical.
Oh, that is massive.
That's big news.
That is big news.
That is a big news. So for those not in the know, Valhalla Tactical is a shop front in Brisbane and also I think in Townsville and Darwin. And they have a remarkably large online store as well. So, but the good thing is, especially for us Queenslanders, there's actually a shop, which I really like. You can kind of go in and there's stuff in there. And Valhalla Tactical sell a hell of a lot of stuff that I already own.
So much stuff. So much stuff.
They sell lower boots, which of course I got 2 pairs of. They sell Cedar Summit, which I probably got about half a ton of, silicon of. They sell things like Scarpa boots. They sell Garmin. They sell benchmade knives.
Do they?
Do they?
I did not know that.
They sell benchmade knives. They sell lots and lots of stuff, and they've now started to sell Mystery Ranch packs, which was kind of how we found them.
We were looking at the packs. That's right.
That's right. That's how we kind of found them.
And Mystery Ranch Bino rigs, which I'm going to go and get myself one off.
Yeah, Mystery Ranch Bino rigs, and then they sell the tactical gear as well. And if you look on their website, they sell a hell of a lot of high end well, they sell a lot of stuff that I own already.
Yeah. Well, and if you were to categorize it, they're not a hunting store, so to speak.
No,
You know, they don't have a whole lot of technical hunting clothing, but they got everything else. Bar the gun, bar the bullets, it sounds like there's not a lot left, but when you're talking about ultralight cookware, packs, good quality clothing that you might not be hunting in, but you know, the 511 type stuff. They sell everything from
boots.
carabiners and food and God, the list just goes on and on and on.
Yeah,
watches, Garmin watches that we all use.
so I'm just
Camelback,
like
life straws, all that sort of stuff.
So Dave Hawkins is the owner. We've been speaking to him, and basically they have. So if you're in the military, you probably know them. But there's a hell of a lot of stuff that they sell, as Ian said, that's really aligns with us hunting crew type. So I'm just going through what they've got, like black country cuisine. They got black diamond headlamps. They got Camelback. They've
Leatherman,
got
lead lenser torches.
They got Dana boots. They got Garmin watches. They've got another type of forage. They've got Gerber. I'm going through all the brands I recognise. High Tech, Helinox, the chairs. I've got two of those. Leatherman, Jetboil, Climate, which is the inflatable lightweight sleeping mats.
Tatonka packs.
Cool, which is brand that I've got. My Ranger jacket is a Cool. Lower, Leatherman, lead lenser. Got a few of those. Merrill, the mechanics gloves, which are my winter gloves. Morocco 30. There you go. Mystery Ranch. Nalgene, got 3 of those in the fridge. I don't know. I like those gloves. Don't know that brand. I'm going to have to check them out. Nemo equipment, Oakley. Man, it goes on and on and on.
It's just never ending.
I'm only at O, So they really are that stuff, that high-end hiking stuff that is often very, very difficult to find in store. They've got a really big range of it too, which is really nice. So
what does it mean for the listener?
Well, so we're now partnering with these guys, and the reason we're partnering with these guys is because they cover off on so much of that stuff. And what we will be doing is creating a Hunters Campfire discount code with those. So he's come. Dave wants to sponsor us. He wants to help us engage with people, and we said the best way to do it is discount code. And so that's what will happen. That's in a Thermarest.
He's still looking at it.
I'm still looking, man. I'm still looking.
He's like walking about.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about here? I'm just shopping. So we will have discount codes, and that will give listeners a discount.
Yeah, and we hope to sometime in the short-term future organise a get-together down at the store. Come down, meet the guys, come and interact with us. Have a yarn about what's going to go on, or if it hasn't, or if it was already gone on, how the rut went. We'll figure that out as we go, but it'll be an ideal place for us to get together and have a bit of a show and tell of gear and empty your wallets on good stuff for cheaper prices. So I think it's great. I think it's awesome. Yeah,
and what I really like about it, as I said, is both for us, SEQ based people. We've got a shop where we can go look at stuff, which is great.
Try it on. That's the big thing. Is the fit.
They've got a really good online store, as it were. So that discount code, it won't know boundaries, as in geographical boundaries. So you'll be able to, if you're listening to us in out of state or further up north, but though they are in Townsville and Darwin, very much a link to the military bases up there. You'll have lots of options to look at really cool stuff.
Valhallatechnical.com.au. Go and have a look at it. Let us know what you think.
Actually, I kid you not, I was driving today and they were in front of me in the car, and I took a photo of them. That's a pretty blurry photo because I'm Probably shouldn't have been doing that when I was driving, but anyway. Yeah. So I went, oh, well, look at that. That's amazing. They were right there. So they were.
QPS is going to come knocking now.
No, mate. No one.
You mean he pulled over and he parked and he took a photo as they were driving
Something
past?
like that. Yeah, so
pulled over.
It wasn't me. It
Where
wasn't
it was
me.
safe to do so.
It wasn't me. I plead the Bart Simpson. It wasn't me. Can't prove that I did it.
Very cool. All right.
So that's the big one. That's a really good one. That with working with Valhalla Tap will very exciting. My wallet isn't that excited though. But anyway.
Right. Moving on. Jono's got new stuff.
I've got some new stuff too. This arrived the other day just from our friends at Beretta. So
Can
that
you
is
turn it vertically.
Vertically, that way.
Might fit it in the frame. Oh, for those that are listening, it's a Ranger 4. It's a Steiner Ranger 4.
Yep. And this is the Steiner Ranger 4 in 1 to what is it? It is
1 to 5 by 24.
1 to 4 by 24. So this is going on my 9.3 by 6.2, which will be accompanying me to the territory. And this is the grand reveal. It's the first time I've opened the box. There we go. Have a look at it. So this is a nice, beautiful, low-powered scope to go on my 9.3 by 6.2, which is going to come to the territory for buffalo, which is, 6 months away now. Can you believe that?
Jeez, that's creepy.
I can't. And that was a scope that I used, not that particular one. That was a scope I used 2 years ago or 18 months ago on the Sarco. But so it's fantastic stuff. Makes buffalo look real big.
So I'm pretty keen to get that mounted and off to the range. I think I'll wait until the hunt camp's finished and deer prep is over.
You're not going to use it in Nundle?
No.
It's a beautiful forest scope.
Yeah,
you got to set it up. You can always put it on the 9.3 and just shoot deer with 9.3.
Well, I was about to say, I don't think
it's not like they won't die from it.
Those little fallow in Nundle, I don't think there won't be much left after 9.3.
Just load it with barns at 250. It'll rip straight through them.
So I'll start buffalo prep once we get back from Nundle, I think, and deer. And once deer prep's done and deer hunting's done, buffalo prep will start, I think.
Yeah.
But I cannot believe that that's 6 months away. That's coming up.
There's a lot to do inside 6 months before that. There'll be a couple of slam hunts. You've got a club hunt coming up. There's probably going to be some trip to sneak off and go and bowl some goats over.
Yeah, I think I'm hunting every single month between now and the territory. So
so good.
Actually, no, I think August is the only one I don't have a date yet, but I think Slam 2 might be potentially in August. So yeah, I think that one's going to fill up pretty soon. And so that's a hunt every month for the next 6 months, and then it's buffalo in the territory. So it's exciting. It is exciting.
Not a bad way to close the books. The thing about those Rangers too, they don't skimp on cardboard. The box is huge.
It is huge. Look at the size of it.
Twice the size of the scope.
You get this thing, you go, holy big, how big is this scope?
You should have seen the size of the cardboard box that this box came in as well.
Yes.
And then the other thing I got from the guys at Beretta was a set of the Burris signature rings to go with the scope. So it's going to get mounted onto the 9.3, which I'm actually pretty keen to get completed. I'll do a video and put that up because that 9.3 was actually recently Cerakoted by Byron down at the Beretta Australia workshop, and I got the orange mag to go with it. So I'm looking forward to getting that piece finished, and I'll put a video of that up.
It's a damn fine rifle, and it'll be a great scope. So that's a really nice. I mean, you could use that to shoot pigs. You could use that to shoot anything, basically.
That would be I actually want to take that on the next pilliga trip. I think to shoot through the scrub and those goats and the pigs and the pilliga. I think that'll be because you're not shooting fire in the pilliga. Like I've never shot a fire.
Oh, that'd be dynamite in that action.
So I'm thinking maybe later towards the end of the year a pilliga trip. And
just shoot them up front. That one, you're kind of right off that end.
So we'll see how the year pans out, but hopefully get a buffalo with that this year. That's the goal. So Ooh.
Very cool. That is really cool. I actually really love hunting with low power scopes. Done it for years. It's big eye relief, big picture, great for moving shots. You see everything. It's
Those
very great.
buffalo are such big animals anyway. That you don't need a high powered scope for that.
No. Well, once upon a time, 4 power was it. That was high power.
Yeah, well, I remember when I grew up, 3 to 9 by 40 was the scope to
Yeah,
have.
that was it. That was everything. Was the hunting standard was 3 by 9 by 40. But there was those 4 power fix for years.
Yeah, 4 by 40s. Yeah, that was it. Yeah.
That was right. They were just fixed 4 powers. That's right. So
I'm looking forward to seeing you use it. I still reckon you should get some practice with it and use it for Nundle. But what's sitting on your? Well, what is your hunting rifle for Nundle?
I am taking this year is the Benelli 3006.
You won't bring it. You won't go hunting. It'll be wet. It'll be foggy. It'll be. I don't want to get it. I don't want to hurt it.
It'll be in this hermetically sealed bag. It's like do not open between these temperature ranges and this humidity range.
I might take the Tika just in case it's very wet. Yes.
Oh, listen to it.
Yeah, man.
It's too pretty to get wet and muddy and dirty. I'm sorry, but it's too pretty.
That's what your wife says about you. Yes. Okay.
Well, we won't say that. But anyway,
the plan is this year to hunt with the Benelli 3006. Beautiful rifle.
Oh
yeah. It's got the Burris scope on it. It's such a beautiful rifle. It's just. I don't know. I can't take it out in the mud and the wet, and I know it can handle it. It's got that best coating, which has got a 20-year rust-proof guarantee on it. But
last I checked, wood doesn't rust though.
Yeah, but it's a timber stock and timber swells.
No, they don't.
It's too pretty.
Timber cut out of packing carts in.
I'll swap. You take the synthetic one for a year and actually use it, and I'll break in the timber.
No. That vanilla
timber stock's made out of packing crate material, mate. But that won't swell unless, of course, you go swimming with it.
Well, Nundle gets pretty wet. But
a good quality timber scope stock will be fine.
No, so Benelli, Ian Benelli is going to Lundell.
Beautiful. And what's on it? A Burris.
Burris, correct. So I think I've got a 4 to 16 by 50 on it. So I'll keep that on 4 power. So the Burris.
That's a big scope, isn't it?
Burris Signature HD is what it. No, sorry, it's a 3 to 12. Burris Signature HD 3 to 12 by 44. Yeah, that's what's on it. So I've only shot it at the range. I haven't shot an animal with it yet. I took it on the Slam Pot 2, but it was too wet. It didn't come out of the box on that trip. I took the Tika out. You can't go wrong with the Tika though. But this year's got to be the Burris because I'm tired of getting ribbed about it. So.
Oh, good. I'm glad it's working. Nothing like peer pressure.
It's like owning a Porsche and not driving it over 60
in the rain. Yeah,
it's too pretty.
Well, if you haven't really used it, then have you got any prep that you got to do with it prior to?
Yes,
we're talking about getting deer ready tonight. So what have you got left to do with it?
So range time for me. I had planned on using it for the Reds this year, but unfortunately that fell through. So between now and deer camp's going to be range time for me. Just making sure that I'm comfortable with it, that it's shooting properly. I'll do, I'll check zero, make sure that it's zeroed in off the bench, and then from there I do non-bench shooting. So I do from standing positions, I do from seated positions wherever possible. I try not to use the bench for general shooting. I only use it for zeroing because when you're in the field, you're not going to get a solid rest. You're going to be in different positions. You might have to take a standing shot, seated shot, prone shot. You never know what's going to happen. Maybe even an offhand shot. So I try to practice that wherever possible at the range. So for me, it'll be check zero, make sure it's shooting where I want it. I generally have mine shooting just maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches high at 100 is where I tend to keep mine. I've got the Psycho rounds that I'm shooting through mine this year. I think I've got Psycho 150 grains. Zeroed it last year, but I haven't shot it since. So session at the range, make sure the zero's on, and then do field positions only after that. I'll probably try and get at least 2 to 3 range sessions in between now and hunt camp, just to make sure that the rifle's good, that I'm good. That's probably the biggest thing for me is me. It's been a few months since I've shot, so I think I'll be a little bit rusty. So just make sure I'm confident with my own skill set. And once I know that the rifle's shooting properly, then it's up to me.
What about you, Ian?
Well, we're deer ready. You and I went to the range the other day at Hobbsy's place, and both those rifles. I say both rifles. The Lupo Eliminator combo. I'm not taking that this year. I really love shooting with it. It's such a nice combination. But the BRX and the Steiner Predator 8's what I'm taking this time, and that's what I hunted with last year. I just had a bit of a hiccup with groupings. We went, John, you and I went to the range, and it was just all over the place.
I think it was the guy you're with, because it seemed to work pretty well when we were doing it.
Yeah, it's kind of. Yeah, I mean, it was much easier. We didn't play with those 170 grain pills.
Yeah, I think it was that ammo. Just didn't like it.
As soon as we dropped it back to 150s, it was fine.
Yeah.
And as soon as we used the 170s, it was horrible, and then 180s were fine. So there is truth to the fact that rifles don't like specific rounds.
Very true.
Yeah. But, I mean, such a drastic difference I wasn't expecting. But it was proved. I mean, you did find, Mark, when we went over the rifle, that one of the mount screws was a bit loose.
Yep, that's true.
If you recall. So the front one was fine, but the back one was a little bit loose, so that could have impacted it. Or probably did impact it a little bit. But anyway, she's on now. I've got... I usually, once I've got it sighted in, I don't go mucking around with it too much. I don't have a range close by, so next time I shoot, it'll be in anger, in the bush. So that's about it for me. Other than that, I've got other bits and pieces that I'm sorting out. Specifically, how I carry everything, and I don't mean in a pack. I mean so it's all accessible. I've gone through so many different versions of carrying, because we don't just carry a rifle in a pack and your bino harness. I've got a tripod and a camera and all of that stuff with me as well. So the last 2 years, I've been walking with my rifle on my pack, strapped to my pack, knowing that I wanted to take very stable, steady shots only at animals that hadn't seen me yet. I wasn't looking at offhand shooting. I wasn't looking at, really reactive stuff, but saw a few bucks that were certainly in shootable range. And if I had the rifle in hand, there would have been no reason why I couldn't have taken a shot at either of those. So this year, I'm still going to be carrying the camera, but I'm adopting what Mark uses, and that is the Sling Saver hook.
The hook.
One here.
I'm moving to one of those this year. I've not used one, so that's something new for me. Is the hook? I know you've had one for a couple of years now, Mark.
Yeah, I didn't know that actually existed. I made one.
Yeah, well, Mark made one, and I've always
I bent it up
use it.
I used grade 10 man art skills and got the toaster out and found a bit of plastic and bent it up with the toaster. And it works really well. I use it all the time. Yeah, the only problem is if you think about it, the sling hook stops them from moving east-west, so it stops it from rolling for shoulder. But they do still doesn't stop it from moving north-south. So it does, because the way of the rifle, it does kind of roll a bit. It doesn't roll a lot, but it does roll a bit.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about how to do something about that.
Yeah. So with the roll when I lived in the UK, I had a Tikka T3 Super Varmint with a moderator on the front. So it was a heavy barrel with a lot of extra weight on the front, and I actually started carrying mine barrel down.
Yep.
And because the weight is down, it keeps the weight down, and it actually stops the rifle from moving up and down.
There's actually a photo of me in England doing exactly that in the morning with the rifle kind of pointing out almost at, horizontal. behind because it's got a huge moderator hanging off the nose of it.
And that's why I carry mine barrel down now. It's just a habit that I've got into. I prefer it, and I find it safer if something was to happen. And not that I carry around up the chamber, but I just find the muzzle's always pointing in a safe location, which is one of the fundamentals of gun safety that we're taught. It's pointing down. It just hopefully doesn't hit you in the foot. That's all. But I don't have a round up the chamber when I'm walking around. So, but that's how I carry mine, and I actually find it very stable.
Yeah. Well, I got chatting. So this one that I'm showing you now, those again that are listening, not watching, it's a small sling saver hook with a Velcro band that goes around your pack strap. He's done quite a good job of designing it. Inside it, it's got some anti-slip, and then it's got a little rail sort of guard here that stops the sling coming back, or unhooking itself. But it's quite a small hook compared to yours, Mark. So I've tried this. This one I've got from eBay, from a seller called Vic Oz Supply, who was also nice enough to say, "Hey, we know you guys. Here's another 10 of them, and give them away to all your buddies at Hunt Camp." So we're going.
I tell you something. If you're going to Hunt Camp, you need to take a spare box for all the stuff you're bringing home.
Small,
holy moly!
But how cool. This is really cool. So anyway, it's a sling hook. If you want to find it, you're listening to this and you want to find it.
Show bags.
You're not going to Hunt Camp.
We just need to make like the Hunters Campfire show bag and just go, here you go, guys. Just take a little show bag, little birdie beetle in there, and Kit Kat.
The guy that wins nothing, he'll have to get a prize just for that.
That's right.
If you're not coming to Hunt Camp and getting a free one of these, then you can jump across to our website, which is thehunterscampfire.net, and you can go to My Preferences page, and on My Preferences page, you'll find the sling hook. That will take you to the YouTube page of the Australian dude down in Victoria who lives off-grid, who 3D prints these things, but only in the daylight because otherwise his power's not working. We've had this chat.
I was going to ask him that question.
What a legend. He can do
amazing.
10 a day because that's all the power he can generate.
Oh, he's got a bike.
Not everyone at once. Everyone just take turns, all right? But,
that's right.
What a good fella. So anyway,
that's awesome. That's brilliant.
They're on the website. Go and have a look at it. But to that point, I used to just carry a normal sling. I got rid of it. I then went to a safari sling, which I really enjoyed until the bino rigs became mainstream. And for me, not everyone's the same, but certainly for me, the bino rig was like that 2-second delay getting the safari sling untangled from time to time. Yeah. And it'd just hook up. So I ditched the sling, and for the last 2 years I've been carrying the rifle or putting it on my pack. Now the sling saver, I've gone and bought myself, Mark, the leather dingo sling. I bought the very basic, just the leather, no padding or anything like that.
That's the one I got.
It's a really nice sling.
It is. And it's
so I
just
hooked that up. Yep. And I had to because the sling hook's quite thin. It's about as thin as my little finger. So anything that's got padding doesn't slide in there. So
okay. I've got one of the neoprene with the padding on.
I've seen that.
Yeah.
This won't work.
The dingo.
It's too big.
I'm actually thinking about that idea of I might try and put something in the space of my hook to put a bit of tension on the sling. It's making me think about that.
Might stop us.
Well, yeah, this is tape. Yep. So it might work, Jono. But the one that I had here was a paracord woven one, and those knots were too big to get in there.
Okay. Well, I'll give one a try at Nundle and provide some feedback.
Yeah.
I've had one of those dingo slings for years.
Yeah, they look like they're the type of sling that'll last for that long.
They just do. And
just a slice of leather.
You can even buy, replacement screw studs if you ever lose those things, because it is literally just, a good piece of leather with 2 loops at the end of it. That's been across 4 or 5 rifles, that sling, in fact. It's now on the BRX.
Yeah.
I think. Yes.
Yeah, that's what I do. I move slings between rifles. I think I've got one sling, and I just move it around. I've got the quick detach sling swivels, and I just move it between. That's what I use.
Yeah. So I've that's probably the main gear change for me. I'll be into year 2 with the Kuiu pack. It was really good last year. Nothing else really changes other than I'm now spending the next few weeks just going through every single component and restocking it because the poor old first aid kit's taken a beating. It's probably run out of Band-Aids. Who knows what else has been poached out of that. So just want to make sure all of that stuff's squared away. I've got the knife sharpening kit out. That's now getting a workout each day. It's good when you work from home in your office and you just put yourself on mute and sharpen your knives. Just don't show them on your video conference calls with your customers and you're usually okay.
I read somewhere that doing micro chores is very good for people who work from home. So there you go. You're actually looking after your well-being.
Yeah, that's good.
Good to know.
It's called micro choring.
Micro choring.
I'll put it in my HR
made that name up, but
employee plan. But that's me. No, that's the main thing with gear for setting up. So I'm good to go. Getting excited. What about you, Mark? You got stuff going?
So I bought another knife. I bought a Benchmade Flyway, which is this tiny little fixed blade. So I'm going to carry that this year. Scott from Beretta, who likes to put challenges to me, challenged me to use Norma ammunition, specifically the Norma Oryx.
That's what I've got. That's what I've got.
So I did.
Yeah.
So this year I'm hunting with my 3006, the old Tika, not Tika T3X, but a T3. Though it is much modified and customized since it originally came through Queensland Gun Exchange many moons ago. So I'm hunting with that, and I'm hunting with the Oryx 3006 in 180 grain. So I'm hunting with bombs. So I went to the range and sighted that in a few weeks ago, and I've actually got a video that I'm finishing off about the sighting in process. So I've set that to basically just be a little tall at 200. On the box, they recommend a 2.3 inch high 100 will give you a 0-200, and I reckon they're pretty right because I have noticed over the years that I shoot lower in the scrub than I do at the range. It's something to do with my natural aim point. So what I did at the range, so I zeroed it to 2.5 rather than 2.3, and so it's a little taller at 200. So it's not on 0, but it's only a little bit taller. And so that should, in the scrub, that should actually equate to a 0 at 200. And that's not bad for a 180 grain round. They grip very nicely. They're very nicely shooting rounds. What I really liked about them, other than the fact that they're a good projectile, is that you got that repeatability in them. Once you figured out how they worked, they're repeatable. So confidence in that. So that's on the Tika. The Tika's running, it's been running it now for a number of years. The older Predator 4, which was the forerunner to the Predator 8. And I remember, I think it was Scott was telling me that actually the Predator 4 was not like a cheaper version, but it was, there was a consideration about lowering the price point of it. It's a fantastic scope. I love it. And what I really like about it is the illuminated reticle is a cross. It's this smaller. So it's kind of this weird combination of an old German number 3 style. So it doesn't have a vertical vein on the reticle, above the 12 o'clock. It's got like a German number 4, so it's got the 2 horizontals and this lower vertical, and it's also got this really weird thing where the horizontals are wider at the edge of the glass and they go in. So it tends to draw your eye. It tends to make you focus on the middle, and it's a little cross. So I really like, and it's a 2.5
Sorry,
by 10.
I was just checking if that's the reticle I've got in the Predator.
The Ranger is actually is the Ranger a simpler number 4?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually, this is a circle. It's not the cross; it's a circle. Yeah.
Oh, you got the circle one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was just checking. Yeah, but this is the red dot as well.
So yeah, it's an illuminated reticle. It's really, really good. It's the 2.5 by 10 by 42, so it's kind of an upgraded version of the old 3x9. And I'm taking it with me tomorrow afternoon because I'm managing to get out to go check a couple of to turn over some trail cameras, so turn over some memory cards, and even more excitingly, for those who've watched lots of my videos of me sitting on one side of the wire looking longingly at animals on the other side of the wire, I now have access to the other side of the wire.
Wire means nothing.
Well, I don't even. I mean, I have access. I don't mean that I can get there. I mean, I actually have access. The landowner has. We had a chat, and we had a couple of chats, and he said, "Yep, go for it." So, I hope to. I'm hoping that all those animals I've seen over the years over there are still there.
Yeah, they'll all be waving at you from the top
So I
of the
can go
hill.
visit them. They move to the next block. They just move to the next block. That's what it is. So yeah, so that's my big thing tomorrow afternoon. I'm gonna, as I said, go up. There's a couple of trail cameras up there. What I did was I moved them basically all over the block until I found where I thought was the heaviest traffic area, and so I've set them all up in that heavy traffic area. So I'm hoping to get lots of cross traffic on the trail cams. So I'll just go up and change the memory cards over, and I'll put a couple of new ones on this new block, specifically around the 2 dams. So, and the other exciting thing I have is I have a Stony Creek meat safe, which is basically a hanging bag.
How big is it?
It's big. It's
How big?
big a lot.
Can you get inside it?
6'2"?
I don't know. I'm not getting inside it, so we know that's not happening. So let's move on from that particular silliness. I don't know. But basically it's a it's a reusable zip bag that you can put over a carcass if it's hanging in a tree. So I'm going to give it a go. So it'll live in the truck. It's not something that I'd carry in my pack because you wouldn't want to hang it out there in the scrub and go back for it. But once you get into camp, I'm going to set it up in camp, and it's called a meat safe from Stony Creek. You can check them out. They look very interesting. And yeah, that's the new thing I want to try along with the ammo this year. I've certainly the 3006 is not new to me, but shooting that normal Oryx is new. And the weird thing is, I only just kind of bedded in the Sarco. Then Scott goes, "Yeah, we'll try this stuff." So okay, sure.
I've got the Norma for the 9.3 this year. For the Buffalo. So I'm looking forward to giving that a run.
Oh, do they? Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that.
232 grains is what I've got.
233.
I'm hoping to get the 9.3 barrel for the BRX.
That'll be awesome. Yeah, I'm sure I've got the 232 grain.
232, so it's a lot of grain.
I think so.
No, 325.
For the 9.3?
325. And there's a 285, which is I'm just looking at normal ammunition.
Maybe it's 285 then. I thought I had
285 is the standard round.
Must be 285
for a 9.3.
I thought it was 232, but yeah, it could be wrong. Yeah.
There's that, and there's a heavier one too. There's a 325.
I'll have a look.
I think the 9.2 in 285 is the money, and it's bonded for buffalo.
Cool.
I think that'll be the one for buffalo.
So let's go back to cameras. Let's go back to trail cam.
Okay, sure. Oh, that's what Frank has asked us about trail cameras, so we should probably cover that off.
G'day, Frank.
Go, Frank. Frank's getting a hat
questions.
named after him.
Yeah, we have. We've named the hat. The new
I think
hat that's coming
I think
Frank.
that is a fantastic idea, and I'd like to actually, because we've also had this conversation. We are going to have merch. It will happen, and I want to name our merch after
stuff,
people that we've met along the way. So the hat is.
You know why we
Frank.
call it the Frank?
Yeah. Because he was the first person to wear it, wasn't he?
Well, he designed it for starters to suit the head the size of Frank's. So it's one size fits all. Well, he's self. That was his thing. Just it's got a noggin a little bit larger than mine, and he found a hat that fits. And it also cinches down to a size that might fit your head. So that was important to Frank. Thanks, Frank. That's great. We've now modelled his hat, and we have a whole bunch of them coming to Hunt Camp, which would be great. Might be some leftover ones, but there'll be a second run coming. So along with the other merch, which is pretty exciting, bits and pieces coming together.
Yeah. So that's happening. As I said, and I want to give it a name. So, and we're going to have we're looking at probably first off hats, hoodies, and T-shirts.
Nice.
So supporter gear or casual gear or round the camp gear.
Yep.
I'm just looking at 9.3 ballistics in 285. John, if it's 0 to 200, it's a 3.1 inch high. So that's not a bad
That's pretty good
setup
for Buffalo. It's going to be awesome.
NT Buffalo. Yeah, basically just shoot on.
We go back to cameras now?
Sure.
I know we're trying to prepare for buffalo, but let's talk about deer because we're preparing for deer. All right, that's the theme here tonight. One of the questions that was positioned or posted or asked of us was, how do you decide where to put your trail cam? What is the method, the process, the thinking that goes into where you hang up one of those things?
Okay.
Or is it a lot more random?
Do you know Lex Higgins, the bush tucker man?
Yeah.
He used to say this thing about fishing, about someone says, where do you cast the lure for barramundi?
In the water.
And he said,
The water.
in their mouths.
Okay.
And in a way, trail cams, you should I think you should use them in the same instance, as in you're kind of hunting with them. Okay. So you should, you need to, just like you would kind of say, okay, there's game here, so I want to locate that, I want to identify it. So you're not going to just randomly stick them out. If you randomly stick them out, you might get all sorts of random information. But if you want to find deer or you want to find pigs or wild dogs, again, you've got to set it up for that. And my theory about trail cams is it's about firstly determining, if you don't know already, I mean, if you know the information, like you find this massive tree rub and it's fresh and you go, okay. But if it's like you're trying to determine what's happening in the area, the first thing is about determining about what's about. So what animal or what game species are in that area. And then you might go, okay, so who's about? So is there a stag there? So you kind of concentrate it after a while. But in the first instance, you want it to prove your theories that, yeah, I reckon there's deer here or there's pigs here or something like that. So those indicators that tell you that there's a deer there, wallow, scrape, something like that, hair caught in a fence wire, that's what you want to look for first. And then you want to then set them up. And then as you get information from those cameras, you keep refining it. So that's kind of my approach. And that's what I've done over the last 8 months at the block up at Brisbane Valley. So I moved the cameras over that block over a period of time until they're now all really basically concentrated in a relatively small area, because that's where time and again the cameras have told me that's where the game is. That's the corridor. So
yeah, I do similar. I'm looking for activity, fresh activity. Usually, if I'm hunting the raw, if I'm looking at a wallow that looks pretty fresh, or a scrape or a rub or something like that, I'll put a camera on it to see what time of the day the animal's moving through, what quality stag it might be, if he's still about, because he might have moved on. So that's generally how I'm positioning my cameras.
Yeah, I know I've sort of used them a different way for the last little while, and that's been to validate my own thinking. Working in state forests, trying to find areas, I believe that I have found a place where a stag is working. I've found scat, I've found rubs, I've found pads. I now put that camera up, and it's exciting for me to go back and look at that for something to be there, because it tells you that all of your other components or ingredients of the recipe were right. You had it right. Now trust your gut that you've understood that process, and the camera helped me validate that. Beyond that, if I've now found a place that I think things are happening, similar to what you're doing, John, I'm putting things up in water crossings. You come across a creek, there's usually one or two very obvious places that animals are funneled into to cross that creek. I put them up somewhere near that to try and capture them, and it's all about understanding two things. One, are the girls there? Because in the fallow season, where the girls are where the bucks go. The girls aren't going to the bucks. The bucks are going to where the girls live. All right? Typically, that's what's happening. So you need to find the concentration of the girls. And if you found them, you're going to find the buck if you're there at the right time. If you know that that's where the girls are and you're now putting out extra cameras, it's to find the quality of that animal and see if that area is worth persevering with. In saying that too, often that dominant stag only comes in the very last few days before the main rut, right? So you might not see him for a while, so you might capture that guy during your hunt week.
And that's what I mean by that idea about what's about, who's about. So the first instance, I think there's deer here. What's about? Okay, there's deer here. Those signs I'm seeing are deer signs. They're not marsupial or something like that. And then you're going, okay, so who's about? Oh, okay, there's a stag here, or there's a matriarch here with other does around or something like that. So it's you're kind of refining. Yeah, and each time you're kind of proving your theory. Go, okay, well, this looks like a place where deer are, or this looks like animal activity. I might not, because sometimes, you might not, that there's heavy animal traffic there, but you need to have validation of what kind of animals there, so you can use it to do that as well. One of the places, it was always there was movement through the grass. So I was going, okay, what's creating that grass movement? And it was actually wild dogs. I thought, is this pigs? Or I couldn't find any prints because the ground was too grassy. I thought, what is this, wild dogs or is it pigs? Weren't dogs. Be wild dogs. So yeah. And then you get, and the other thing is too, you get all that wonderful kind of bycatch where you kind of just go, oh, there's rabbits here as well, or there's foxes here as well, or there's marsupials punching up in front of your camera and all that kind of stuff. You get all that, and then you might go, holy moly, there's a big pig here as well. So that's a big part of it as well. So it's ultimately you're using it to hunt. So you're finding you're using your normal approach to determining about the suitability of an area for hunting. You're just getting the cameras to validate that.
Do you have service where your blockers, Mark?
Yeah, but I don't use service cameras. So I do have service.
Considered using cameras that way?
No. There's a couple of reasons why. One is I used to have good quality, expensive trail cameras, and a couple of them, I didn't get pinched, but I no longer own them. And so what I decided was I could own 5 cameras for the price of 2. So I went cheap. So that's how I do it now. I went cheap. So I can have multiple, I can have 3 good $300 each cameras, or I can have 9 eyes on the ground. The other thing about signal was, I don't know about you, Ian, but there's often I'll find one of my cameras has got like 4,000 images of cows. So I don't need that going bing, bing, bing.
No, I agree. And look, what I'm going to say is not what I suggest we should do. And I'm kind of happy that the majority of the places that we hunt don't have service coverage, so it doesn't work in a lot of cases anyway. But the concept that we've spoken about this once before. It was a long time ago, but having 2 or 3 cameras in your hunt location that you're showing up to, and you're showing up to a spot early in the morning to be able to sit and wait, and camera 3 goes off and it sends you a picture of Uncle Buck walking down the track. You know which way to look. You know which way he's coming. I get it. It takes the sport out of it. It takes the fair chase out of it. But the technology is there. I'm curious who does it. You can't really do it much in our state forest, but
there's no coverage.
People use spotlights, people use thermals, people use technology in different ways. It's a shitty subject, I know, but it's worth covering off on and seeing what you think.
For me, I don't. The ethical consideration is secondary to the. It's just not what I'm just not that interested in knowing that, right? I mean, I'd actually not. To be honest, if I had a camera in Nunley right now, in a 250 Douglas buck past it, I don't want to know, to be honest.
Bullshit. As if you wouldn't want to know.
Car on the way down.
I'm talking about the here and now. You're in the dark. It's 5:15. You've got 3 ways the deer could be coming. It tells you which way the deer are coming from. You know that buck you're chasing is coming, and it's like 2 minutes away. Be prepared.
Yeah, I suppose in that instance, I'd never seen myself in that situation. So
until I heard someone talk about it.
But
what if?
I'm hypothetically.
Let's be honest.
I like the anticipation.
Let's be honest.
Imagine what that anticipation would be like if you knew it was 2 minutes away.
Well, that's the thing. Let's be honest. If you knew that was happening, I know what would be going on. You wouldn't be going, well, I'm just going to turn off my phone because that's
I'm going to pretend that
yeah, you wouldn't be doing that. You'd be going, holy moly.
What if? But so it's, I get it. It's cheating, if you want to call it cheating. What if you'd spent your life savings on a trip to Canada chasing elk, and it gave you that advantage to get you home with that animal?
I suppose the question that raises is not the ethical question, is the legal question.
Illegal in a lot of places.
True. Some parts of the US can't do it.
I know that in the United States, a number of states have kiboshed those type of cameras.
Yep.
They've said no, actually you can't know that information. And I don't know how that would work in a state forest.
It's fine.
I don't know.
Absolutely fine.
Is it? It's
absolutely fine.
Okay.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't see how it wouldn't be allowed. It's not. Yeah.
Because
you're allowed to use a trail cam, but you're not allowed to use it in a certain way. Nah,
we're not as strict as
my mind goes to the there's a guy and he's in a blind and he's got like a monitor room and there's 15 cameras.
It's like
he's in a control command center.
He's got a 20-foot mask going up so he can get signal as well.
That'd be
war room. Oh, we got deer, camera 6, deer, camera 6.
It's like those live scopes that you see the fishermen use now, where you can actually see the lure going down to the bottom. Yeah,
right.
That's taking it too far.
And the side cast. Yeah, I never thought about it that way.
Though, seeing the animal or seeing the fish take your bait and hook, after the fact. Some of those live scopes off a boat they work, but you can put those cameras on your surf caster as well.
Yeah.
I'm just too much of a tight ass to put $100 on the end of my line, given the amount of line I lose.
Well, there's a kayak fishing. There's instead of having the kayak, having a sound on the kayak. Have you seen that castable fish finder?
They've got a fiber optic braid.
No, it's like this little ball that looks like a float, and it's
it's not a fish finder. It's a camera, though, isn't it?
No, I've seen the fish finder version. So you kind of cast this thing out.
How does the data come up?
It's Wi-Fi or whatever it is, and
Bluetooth through the water.
You cast this thing out, so it's like a fish finder that you cast.
I haven't seen that one. I've seen a camera, but not a fish finder.
Interesting.
So I mean, I wouldn't. I don't like, criticizing other people's use of technology.
Sure.
But I know that I just couldn't be bothered doing that. But I can see certainly, if you're a bow hunter or something like that, and you're kind of going, we're about on.
Like you've already reduced your percentages as a bow hunter down to especially if you're in South Australia, gone.
Yep, that's true.
So to me that makes sense.
Again, I'm going to completely. I will never do this. this is not something I would ever do. I think it would spoil for me the total experience of hunting if I was waiting in a command control center style, here's my iPad with 6 different streams coming in. That's not the way I want to hunt. But it fascinates me the way people come up with ways to be successful. And
if you think about it, you don't even need a trail cam. All you could do is like have wired, you got a bundle, you just set up all these cameras.
Just go pick up
these little cameras by wire, try them up, and you sit there with your phone and your little, and you're going, okay, this is what's happened. I can see this around the corner.
Some tin cans. Tripwire.
I don't know. I can't see myself doing it.
All right, we'll move on. No one's going to do it. That's good.
No,
I'd
not
love
that
to hear if
particular
someone else does play that game. Be really interesting. What if Mark? What if it was a big boar?
Well, even then, I don't. I mean,
he's now thinking you've confused him.
No. I just can't see it working. I can't.
How do you
see
know
that
it work? You've got a junction point, on a saddle where animals cross over from multiple sides, different directions. There's a place that I'm hunting this year in the rut. This year that I've mapped out, I've spent a lot of time looking at it, and it has 4 main river intersections, all into the same basin. If you could find a central point, I
actually think it actually would work against you, and this is why I think this, or it could work against you. There's that old problem, and we've all experienced, when you go hunting, when you see the game animal, you stop seeing all the other game animals.
Yeah, that's true.
If you were there and it went bing or something up, you're going, there's a spiker coming through in 2 minutes. And you're there looking at the thing, and the buck of the lifetime's going the other way, and walks past.
You'd catch him on your other camera.
On that.
You'd get a second bing and a photo.
Yeah, but then what would you do? You go, oh my God.
You turn around and face the biggest one, wouldn't you?
Oh my God.
You turn around and face the big guy.
I don't know if I wanted, that's it. I'd actually, I'm not sure that I'd be that. I mean, obviously what you're saying is ultimately you're seeing it further than you might see it. So this camera is giving you another 400 meters of vision that you might not have if you're at a nice junction and you're sitting down, you got your back against a tree so nothing can see you, and you're steady, and you got your rifle in front of you on a rest or something like that, and you're waiting for things to cross over in front of you. What you're saying is this will give you an ability to know that thing's coming 400 meters out
not only that it's coming, but what's coming, because it sends you a picture of it.
That's right, but that picture is only a point in time, so that doesn't mean it's going to walk past where you are, unless it's...
No, but it tells me it's walking in this direction.
It tells me, well, no, that's the weird thing about trail cameras. Getting direction and movement is very misleading. And I actually want... That's what I wanted to talk about.
If I'm facing a camera down a trail, so as if it's my eyes looking that way, and I get a photo of a deer walking this way, there's a solid chance it's staying on that trail. Yeah, but you don't know. That's right. But what you don't know is what happens after the next step.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. You've got no idea.
So you don't know if it... So what you're doing is you're getting a photo of a point in time.
Yeah.
You don't know if it's doing that or if it's going that way or it's going that way.
Point in time is now.
Yeah. That's right.
But I mean, if that... So, I mean, you're right. It could go anywhere. It could absolutely go anywhere. Chances are it's going to stay on the path of least resistance, carry on towards the water.
Yeah, because that's it. That's one of the things that when Frank asked a question about setting up cameras, one of the things I like to do once I get an understanding of there's game in the area is concentrate my cameras, because that gives me a much better idea of movement. Because you think about it, nearly always the photo is like, it's like a head-on or a broadside of an animal, and you kind of go, okay, so that's where it is. But you don't know anything about how it got there.
Or anywhere it's going.
You don't know really anything about where it's going. It's just like point in time. So what I like to do is once I get an idea that there's animals in an area, set up at least 2 to 3 cameras and try and get the widest spread as I can So I can kind of go, oh, it's going ... or it's going ... whatever it is. I can get an understanding of its movement much better than it's just there. So you don't know, is it like coming up a gully and, you're seeing it crest the gully and there it is there, or is it walking along the edge of the ridge? So getting a better understanding. So, yeah, if I can understand, again, this thing that it's coming, but I don't know if I don't know if it would work all that well unless it was you really minimize those distances, or you are sure this is where it's coming from. I'm positive that by seeing it here, it's going to be down there in 15, 20 seconds or something like that.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say I think it would give you an ultimate advantage. I think you could position those cameras to tell you that it was absolutely coming your way, and if it didn't show up in the next few minutes, then it's off and it's done something else. But you still know it's down there. You've still now got a spot and stalk that you can potentially go on. Again, I'm not putting cameras out there that are going to have SIM cards in them because there's no service anyway. But I think it's a fascinating way of using technology like that. That up until I heard this on another podcast, I hadn't even considered it as a way of using the tech. But yeah, it's an interesting subject.
Yeah, I'm certainly. One of the things that I do with my trial cams, again, which is I buy spare SIM cards for them because I like to just change the cards over. Once I know where they are, I like to change. So what I'll do is I'll just check battery level. If the battery level is okay, I'll put a new card in and then take it home or take it where I can and start looking at it. The other thing is spare straps. I carry spare straps because they don't seem to last. They perish pretty quickly. And the latest cameras I've got, which is the latest style that I've gone to now, I think I've got 4 of them now. They've got, which I think is probably the best thing you can do on a trail cam, apart from, if you've got one that's got signal, is it's got that forward-facing view screen. That is so much easier. It makes so much more sense. So you don't kind of do that, set it up, and then you got to open the door a little bit and look in it and say, okay, what's it look like? You can set it up, you open up the front view, you go, okay, that's what it's seeing, and close it. So having a camera
when you set those cameras up, what are the setting changes that you're making to yours? How are you leaving them in the bush?
Okay, so I don't do video. I only
Stills.
want stills. I want stills at the highest resolution. I want highest resolution. I want stills. I put it on medium sensitivity.
Oh yeah, okay. Medium.
So there's usually 3 levels of sensitivity. I put on the medium sensitivity. I do like time stamping.
Yep.
So, because that then, and also if they have it, I like them to have moon phase too, because I've starting to notice moon phase as well, especially around pig movement.
The new ones have moon phase?
Yep, these ones have a little moon phase. So once you set the date, that aligns with moon phase. And then I usually like to do a 3 photo burst, and I usually like to have some time delay between bursts. So it'll time, and so what I do is, like at the moment, I've got 3 in this area, and I usually, if I can, like to have them a bit higher looking down, and that's only because that seems to remove the. So all I do is when I put it on the tree, I'll just put a little stick behind it, so it's got it angles down a little bit, and what that does, that seems to minimize, 3,000 videos of still images of grass moving, or wind blowing or something like that.
Yeah, I drop mine right down to low for that reason.
Yeah. The other thing is too, where is the camera going to be facing throughout the 24-hour cycle is really important.
It's not looking direct in the sun.
It might look like a replay, but is it going to be looking at the sun in a period of time? Things like that. So where is it facing? And what I like to do too is have them almost opposing. So at the moment, as I said, I've got the spread, and one of them's actually kind of looking in the opposite direction. So the idea is I'll kind of have this 360-degree view of that area. So if I'm lucky, I'll pick them up on the approach or the departure, as well as pick them up going through the area. So it'll tell me, okay, they're heading down to the water or they're coming up from the water at this time. But, it's amazing is if you have the opportunity, and this block that I've got up at, and now the block next door that I hunt up in the Brisbane Valley is really the first time I've been able to do trail cameras properly, really set them up and experiment with them. So over the last, 3 or 4 years, that part of my hunting has certainly developed because, I just have the opportunity to set them up. I'm the only one on this block. I've caught poachers on camera. That's good. You going back to Lando, do you know this guy? Yeah, I know that guy. Well, he's up here on your block. And, and I've caught some really weird stuff. I mean, I caught a deer with an ear tag in it once. No idea where that came from or where it was going, but there's one with an ear tag in it. And things like pig. And for years I knew there was pigs there. I'd shot a pig really early on and I didn't see any more, but I knew they were there. And again, I found a big digging last time I was up there. Strangely enough, they're digging near the road, but the grass is so long you can't see them. They're just in the grass. But, so you get to understand those kind of things about animal movement. I like the idea of having more at a cheaper price because I lost one sometime earlier this year. It got washed away. Yeah. Where it was, it's not there anymore. It's gone. So.
Do you have any other items that you're preparing that you wanted to chat about now, or can I move to another question?
Other than trail camps, no, I've got 2 up there right now, or 3 up there right now. I'm running a bracket. I'll be changing memory cards over tomorrow. I'm going to put 2 more up, but I'm going to put them on these dams. So that's about prep-wise for trail camps.
All right.
Next question.
Here's a fun question.
Okay.
Guess who asked it?
Frank.
Why do
specifically
fallow, but I guess this is going to be all deer, rub the velvet off their antlers? And what makes them want to do it? Do you have an opinion?
Why
There's
rub?
There's like 3 or 4 answers here that I know of, but I just
Why
sort of
do they
throw it
rub
out
the
there.
velvet off there?
What triggers them?
Well, it's hardening.
What
the velvet's
triggers
starting
them?
to harden and dry out. That's
right. It's actually flaking. Often it's flaking off. In fact,
you wouldn't think that.
We saw that actually. We saw that.
Yeah.
Literally a couple of weekends ago, we saw that flaking off.
You wouldn't think that hard bone would have much sensory.
My understanding is before it hardens, it's actually very sensitive. It contains a lot of blood vessels.
But once it hardens off, So I asked this question. Well, I've spoken about this with various different people over the years, and one of the things that I was told and have looked at and come to believe is that once the antler has become hard and the velvet process is finished, that velvet becomes quite scratchy and irritating.
Might do.
And that's what forces them to start wanting to rub it off. But once that antler growth has also stopped, it has a hormonal change within the deer's body and changes those testosterone levels, which is what starts them wanting to mark scent. Those, what do they call them, preorbital glands?
Yep.
Right. As they rub, they also rub those. It starts to scent boundary and those sorts of things as well. The ultimate outcome of that, obviously, is that they're preparing their fighting weapons and getting them ready for the rut. But to Frank's question about why do they start, my understanding is that it actually irritates them, and that starts that whole process off.
Yeah, well, that kind of makes sense, isn't it? It's the mechanism which drives the activity. It becomes irritating, and so they want to get rid of it. So they rub it.
My view is like when you've got a scab. Do you know when you've scratched yourself or cut yourself, you get a scab and it starts itching just before it's healed over. That's what they're trying to do. It's that same. That's my thoughts on that. You want to try and pick a scab off.
We
We all do it.
Just get irritating. Yeah. The other thing,
Yeah.
that has been thrown around once or twice that I've heard is that the rubbing of antlers on trees, not specifically to get rid of the velvet, but just the actual rubbing and thrashing, as well as marking territory, they're actually strengthening their neck muscles for fighting. It's their gym session. Right? They spend a lot of time doing it, and it helps strengthen that so that they're, more combative.
Though I wonder why, if that's the case, why do things like fallow preach, how they rub, they do that weird preach action, which actually,
like Samba do.
Yeah, but that doesn't seem to be a high intensity activity, as it were. You'll see fallow will, if there's a low hanging branch, they'll rub on that. That almost preacher.
That's the scent glands. They're trying to get those preorbital glands that are high up on their.
And so you'll find under you if there's a significant growth tree like that, you'll find those preach points underneath it where it's dry. It's been rubbed dry, and you can see up in above it. It's been denuded of leaves, and there'll be antler scrapes and all that stuff like that. Whereas reds rub very differently.
I find reds generally go for smaller trees.
They'll take on a big tree.
Well, they often, I think,
reds
the size of I think reds rub in relation to how big a red is. Because they want to hit it right there in between their antlers. They seem like that. So sometimes you find big trees that have been rubbed. And other times you find quite small trees that have been rubbed.
They seem to thrash around the smaller ones. I find a lot. You find more bashed up smaller trees. The reds.
The reds. The reds or the fallow. Well, the fallow definitely. Very rare that you see a fallow that's taken on a big tree.
Yeah, I find
reds lots of saplings thrashed, and that's the easiest way to find it.
It's low-hanging stuff. It's like they're smashing around. Whereas reds will, sometimes you find a rub that it's a blaze.
You'll find a significant tree that's on the point of right out there in the open, on the edge of a spur, and they've completely stripped it. The other interesting thing that I understand is often they'll polish that side of the tree by rubbing it so it's visible to the next side. So the red over on the other side of the gully is doing the same thing. So if you find a red rub, and the most rubbed out side, the side they've given the most attention, typically will face another stag. So it's a really good thing to sit there with your binos and look directly opposite where that is, and you'll probably find you pick up another one as well. Which I thought was pretty cool.
I mean, they are obviously beacons,
signposts.
They are so. I remember a couple of times being up in the valley, actually not on the block, but on the old ADA blocks, and because there was a lot of eucalypts in that, you'll be glassing, and then you'll just see this thing that's like it's like red, sticking out, and it's a tree that's been rubbed right back down. And when you look at it, there'll be obviously the serious area, the major contact area, but up a high there'll be gouges in the trunk where they've been hitting as well. And you think they're doing that for that's like a wombat taking a dump on a rock. It's a territorial marker.
There's my dice.
It's a territory. I think it has to be a territorial marker.
Yeah. Oh, I think reds are for sure. The fallow activity is a bit different.
Yeah.
I don't think they scrape the same. I don't think they're creating those visual calling cards. They're certainly marking territory and leaving scent and thrashing things and showing dominance. But it's a different type. Yeah. And to that point where we talked about trail cams, that trail cam that I set up, and I said I was really excited to go back and validate my plan and that everything was working. One of the photos I got was a fallow buck right up on its hind legs, preaching, like you said, into the branches up there. It was such a cool photo to get. Yeah, so that was good.
Actually, the first deer hunt I ever went on was with Paul Swan, and we saw a rub and went, oh, okay, and we followed that line up, and eventually we found a good sized stag, But yeah, it was a series of just following those rubs up. It was in the roar, but there was no roaring actually that morning, but just kept following and bang, we eventually found this massive stag, a double four, but he was a huge bodied thing. And it was by following the rubs up. And I did that around Somerset once as well. Just kept on walking and kept on following them, and sure enough, found the deer.
That's to go. Anything else?
Not on Frank's question around trail cameras. I can't think of anything in particular. I'm just looking at. I took some notes, which is unusual, but I wrote down some stuff. Make them cheap. Have the forward-facing screen. Buy spare memory cards and straps. That's about it for me on the trail cam stuff. I can't think of anything else about their location. The only thing I'd like to figure out is a way I could look at the pictures better in the field.
Get them sent to your phone.
Well, that's easy.
Yeah, but I want
I have a
big.
I got an adapt. Well, I gave you a big screen.
Yeah, I'm not. You did, and I need a quad bike to carry it. I put it in a protective case.
Holy dooly, look at the size. It's an iPad.
It is. It's a bloody big thing.
Right. So if you go down a size of iPad or even on your phone, on your mobile phone, you just get a little. I've got a little adapter. It's an SD card adapter, plugs into the bottom of your phone. I take the SD card out, I plug it in, and I sit there and I look at all my pictures.
I have a similar one for my computer, but I usually take what I find is what I do if I'm not going to be doing heavy stuff is I take my laptop and just sit there and let it load down the 4,000 pictures of grass moving, and I can sit there and kind of edit while I'm going.
There you go. There you go. That's it.
Yep.
You put the SIM card in that, and you can just sit there. We already talked about the phone has become the nucleus of all of our hunting things.
Yeah.
Right? You just plug it into that, and you sit there while you're waiting for your camera to tell you there's a deer coming down the track.
That's
looking at your pictures.
I do have one, but it's for the computer. It's a Thunderbolt. No, he didn't give him. No, he gave me a what's the name?
Give him an iPad.
iPad. He gave me that's right. He gave me an iPlate. It's just like it's a big man. I said I wouldn't mind one for the car, and I think he thought I drove a truck.
It's the only spare I had. I'm sorry. Cut it in half. See how it goes.
No, I love it. But it's certainly not what I intended it for. I'm using it. Okay,
it's not going to fit on an iPad.
But that's a slightly different fitting. It'll fit my because that's the one I use on the computer.
Yeah, I have one here. I just can't.
So
anyway, go onto Amazon, go onto eBay, find an SD card iPhone adapter.
Yeah, Mark loves it.
Amazon, just go get one. They're like $2.
SD card reader for my iPhone. Okay.
Right then,
I'm doing that right now.
Yeah, so for me,
I've
got more prep. I'm going camping this weekend, and I'm taking the camper trailer out.
Okay.
And I'm starting to get the camper trailer ready. Make sure I've got it all ready to take down to Nundle. So making sure I've got everything packed, that all the canvas is good, everything's working as it should, because I don't want to get down into Nundle and have a shit time because it's going to be cold and possibly wet.
Exactly. The weather's starting to look good too.
So I want to make sure the camper trailer is really working as expected, that I haven't left anything out. So it's not just about guns and packs and that for me. It's about back at camp. I want to make coffee machine, make sure that's working.
So as part of your prep for the camper trail, will you actually be buying a vehicle that can tow it?
My Triton is a beast. She's done well. I've been to Fraser twice, and I've not got stuck once. So actually, no, I got stuck in a Gila once, but Ian got stuck on that drive too. So yeah.
We're all human.
Apple Lightning to SD card camera reader, $49.
Amazon.
Officeworks.
Well, that's about 10 times more than you should pay for it.
Well, I might be able to pick
And
one
I'm,
up tomorrow
but
on the way
I'm the
there.
same. My camper's getting ripped out, stripped down completely. It's probably got 10 years worth of leftover food in it from every other
Ooh.
camp I've been on. It's all canned goods. Come on, it's okay.
Crumbs and
Yeah,
stuff.
there's last year's wraps and bread and a couple of oranges. No, not that stuff. But it is about time it got stripped down and
That's what I'm doing this weekend.
made hunt camp ready. We need to make room for the Starlink kit to
Have you
make
got
sure
an
that we've
inverter
got
for the Starlink? Because it's Starlink's 240. You need 12
volt.
adapter kit.
Oh, we've got a generator coming in. No, this is 12
Starlink's
volt.
240.
It's 12 volt. The
Maybe they've
comms on the
got
move
an adapter,
version.
but the standard Starlink stuff is. Okay.
No, the comms on the move. I'm sure.
Well, standard,
but anyway, regardless,
standard would be 240 because it's for a house.
the answer is yes. We have the power. We have the power for it. It's not going to be on full time. It'll just get turned on so that we can go and swap some bookings around and do whatever we need to do to keep things firing. But yes, we've got to sort that stuff out. But that'll happen in the next few weeks.
Is there an office work up towards Caboolture? Okay. That's what I'm doing. I found out what I'm doing tomorrow on the way out.
Up near the Bunnings in North Lakes.
Very
There's
good.
an office works.
Oh, okay. There we go. So, I don't have to do that. I don't own a camper trailer. I have a tent.
All about comfort.
And there's nothing in it. That's it. Well, no, I have a very comfortable tent, but I don't need to do that. But
I don't have a
in
fire
terms
in
of
mine,
maintenance-
but I've got my
All
electric
about
blanket.
fireplace.
That's all I need.
I think. Yeah, I think
I've-
a couple of these campers are going to get joined at the awnings so that we have a big space, like we have a couple of times. But yeah, the fire is very welcome.
I've got one of those. I can't remember the names of them. Those cast iron box fires. That Bunnings sell. Got one of those.
Yeah, I wouldn't be putting them in a tent.
No, I'm not going to. Though I did realise I've been watching that. I think his name's Brian Call at Gritty.
Yep.
He does stuff on YouTube, and they were talking about tents, and I that's what I couldn't figure out. Those teepee tents they use don't have a floor. That's how you can put a firebox in them.
Well, you put a firebox anyway. Mine has a floor, and you put a firebox in it.
Well, I thought that was what it was. You don't have a firebox in a tent with a floor.
No, you don't want a firebox if your firebox leaks smoke. The firebox that I've got is, you imagine it's a steel box with a steel chimney that goes up through the roof.
Yep, that's what I've got one.
The whole firebox.
You've got the Bunnings ones, haven't you?
No, no. No, Winterwell, proper ones. Actually designed for inside a tent.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't leak smoke. Yeah, no, these are imported from the US. But the box itself gets red hot to the point where you think it's going to melt. And in the tent, it's in the corner of my camper annex next to plastic windows. And that plastic window doesn't melt. The heat gets diverted back out the front of it. They're just designed that way. But as for floors, it's up off the ground. It doesn't matter whether there's a floor or not. I mean, if you're going to drop coals and embers and things out the front of it, you're going to damage your floor. But again, you can also buy a steel base that the whole thing sits on to prevent any of that sort of stuff happening. Yeah,
because they use the hiking style ones, and they use those those teepee tents.
Yeah,
somehow wrap around it, but don't burn. Obviously, I'm not sure exactly how that works.
Yeah, the chimney goes out through I'm going to call it
just like
silicon.
a heat-retardant silicon top.
Silicon. It's a heat resistant stove jack, if you want to call it.
Same as those silicon heat resistant fry pan things you can get.
Yeah.
That must be what it is. Yeah. So that fits over the flue, and because I thought that's an interesting idea, actually. I mean, the fireboxes, are obviously much more useful in much colder climates, but the idea of the teepee tent is looks like quite an interesting approach.
Yeah, if you're going to have a look at Mia Gear over in New Zealand, MIA, Mia Gear, he was the guy that I originally got the idea of getting a hot box for the tent stove, as he calls it. We had one when we went to New Zealand up on the Alps. He had one in his tent. It was just the most amazing thing. He had a rolling boil of stew on for a week, just kept topping it up with venison chunks and whatever cans he had. So you could just ladle out a feed, which I just thought was amazing. But I couldn't get one imported. But he makes those walled American-style tents as well.
Oh, okay.
And he's just released the TP style with the stove jack built into the side of it, so you can put your fireplace in. He makes a pretty good product.
It's the flashing is what they call it.
Yeah, so
it's silicone flashing.
Yeah. Well, it's what. Yep.
Yeah. So the one that I have is like it's almost like a tube. So when you push the flue up through the tent, it's wrapped very snugly around it. And that piece of the flue is a double walled section. Could be red hot pipe going into it, but the double walled outer you can hang on to. It's not hot. So then that goes up through the roof. Whereas others you can get that flashing that you're talking about, which
there
is
you go.
literally a hole, and then you can roll a flap down so that the hole's covered
the
if it's
oven?
raining.
I'm taking pizzas then.
No, always. Yeah. That's the beauty of these things. Is the fold-up oven goes on the top. Pizzas in 5 minutes. Hot apple pies.
Get that pie mechanic and get frozen pies.
Pie mechanic.
Yes.
Fire mechanic. Oh, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, changes the game. Changes the game. Yeah.
Yes. I'm very interested in this.
check out
I'm going to have
Winterwell.
to check this
They're
stove out.
Yeah, so Mia make one out of New Zealand, and Winterwell you can now buy in tent wells.
Winterwell.
I'm a winner and Winterwell. Yeah. You've got the Nomad, I think, isn't it? The folding one.
Yeah, it's the large, whatever size, whatever they call it now.
It's
It's
the
got a window
Winterwell
at the front.
Nomad.
Yep.
There we go. New Nomad View. Is that the one?
One's got a front window and one's got front and sides. I didn't bother with the side windows.
Yeah, I see that. The Winterwell Nomad View.
It's amazing.
There you go. Good. Is that hikeable, or is it too big?
No,
for
it's a base camp.
No, it's like 20 kilos.
Oh, okay. So it's not one of these hikeable ones.
No.
Okay.
Camper trailer. Goes in the camper trailer. The flue and everything packs down inside the stove pot. It all folds up, goes in a bag, and the bag's about the size of a carton of beer, maybe a little bit bigger.
That actually sounds very much like the Bunnings one I got, but it's just made out of cast iron, and it looks just like that one too.
15 kilos.
Wow. Yeah, I put in. Well, again, if you're not carrying it, the truck's carrying it. Doesn't really matter. I've got it inside a King's bag, which is and the flue and all that stuff packs. The legs come off, they go inside it. The flue goes inside it, so it's just this big heavy box. We used it a couple of years ago. It was really quite good. And
there are a few different options out there.
It looks
the
very
biggest thing
similar
is
to
getting something very specific for that purpose, not something that looks like it does the job, and making sure it doesn't leak smoke. Because once you're all zipped up in a tent, carbon monoxide poisoning will kill you.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't. Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing. If this thing's 20 kilos, I probably wouldn't have it in a tent anyway. To have it under a tarp or something like that. It's very interesting, though. I was thinking, it's a hikeable thing.
Yeah, well, you can get
It is a hikeable thing if you take like a pack mule.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah,
that's not a nice thing to call frame.
Yeah, I've seen those other ones
like that.
They're like a really thin material that sort of all just rolls up. I've seen those ones, and they make those.
Well, I'm just wondering what they use then in again in that gritty, because they carry theirs.
Yeah,
and I wouldn't have thought it would be something like that.
No. I've seen the ones that are made out of really thin aluminium. Yeah.
I was wondering what they actually use, because that as I said, that's very similar to the one I've got. That one right there, very similar product. Actually, it is very similar. Mine's a copy of it. So, but yeah, they obviously use something that's much smaller and hikeable, and they take that in with them. And you combine with the teepee tent, so they've got a heated cooking area inside a super lightweight tent.
I did see one of the ones that Gritty put up recently. They took in like 8 alpacas.
Yeah, I've seen them do that, but this one I've also seen on hunts where they're carrying this thing. And I didn't think it was, they carried it in on their pack, so I wouldn't have thought it was that kind of.
No, you wouldn't
thing.
be taking something like that.
No, wouldn't have thought that. There must be a hike version of them. Though, even if it's still, you could see, even if it was relatively heavy, if you're going to be in that kind of conditions, it would be well worth the carry in. Being able to keep warm, because they're just for your own
like
comfort and health. Yeah, especially in cold weather. Yeah, very interesting. So, other than getting your camper trailers ready, any other getting ready?
No, I think I've covered
So I'm going to do my
mine,
annual drop my knives off at the knife shop there in Stafford. I know that's where you visit. I get my knives professionally sharpened once a year. Knife doctor.
Yeah, knife doctor.
So once a year I drop them off and get them done just before the raw. And then throughout the rest of the year I just maintain the edge. And I've got some decent knife sharpeners, the workshop ones, but I like to get a professional edge put on them. I do that once a year. It's worth $15 a knife or whatever they charge, $18 a knife. Yeah,
it's pretty good. I had Gordo come and help and show me how to sharpen knives, and I did this one last week. I showed everyone this one last week. We're talking about knives. It's now sharp, and the edge is polished, and it's shaved the back of my hand, so it's sharp enough. I find that some people like reloading. I like sharpening knives.
Yeah, so
I really enjoy it.
I
found out that you can sharpen a knife like this, and you can stick it in the sheath, and you could leave it there for 6 months, and it will go dull. Maintaining a knife apparently is important, even if you're not using it.
Okay.
No, so the one I have heard is don't put your knives in the dishwasher because of the temperature. Yeah.
Well, that's definitely a no-no. Yeah, definitely a no-no.
If you got a knife block, you should always put them in upside down.
You shouldn't rest on.
I didn't know that.
I knew that one.
Rest on the edge, not on the blade.
No, I didn't know that.
I also know that it's much easier to, as you work them, that's why I always take a sharpener in the meat bag, the processing bag, because it's a hell of a lot easier to just do a couple as you go. Then get to the point where it's blunt and you've just try and get it back in the working order. So just giving it, and the workshop ones have the ones with the predetermined angle in them, so they're really easy to use. So I've got the one for the Benchmade, which are most of my Benchmade are at 14 degrees.
14?
So I've got the 14 degree one. So it's the blue one.
They're a thin blade, aren't they?
They are a thinnish blade, yes.
Yeah, that must be why, because these are done at 22.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's lots of different reasons. Blade, that's one of those things like reloading, and you can argue over what's the best angle. The Benchmades come out at 14, and so there's a workshop that's made for Benchmade, so it gives you the 14, and it's it gives you the diamond stone and a ceramic rod that you can just keep them up and keep them sharp as you go. That's so much more sensible than trying to rescue them once they've gone too blunt. But I didn't know that they would go blunt over time. Didn't know that.
Apparently, just time can dull an edge, and I don't understand the theory behind that. But I read that. I'm trying to remember where I read that.
Heard about it. That one. What I was going to say, John, next time you're in the Knife Doctor, say hello to them and tell them we should probably have a conversation with them, because if there's someone to talk about sharpening knives, it'll be those guys.
Yeah, I'll be popping in there soon, so I'll let them know.
Yeah. that they used to, until we're now talking about Valhalla Tactical, they were my my supplier for my fixation.
Mark's drug
Down there all
dealer.
the time and buy stuff. They got some really nice
Oh, they got
stuff.
so many
They
knives.
got
That's
some
crazy.
really good stuff in there. Oh, yeah, you go. Oh, there's some good stuff in there. So yeah, so that's it. The probably the only other it's not necessarily deer maintenance, but it's maintenance. Is I'm actually doing, continuing to do more work on the truck. So put a new suspension kit in the next month or so. Just make it more comfortable, and I also want to have springs that are a different colour. So
What colour are you getting now?
I like
Yellow
that
ones?
idea. I'm trying to find yellow springs. I don't care how well they work. I just want yellow springs.
I was thinking about blaze orange stripes down the bonnet of the black
Go Foster stripes.
I wouldn't. I can't fault that idea.
Not like the traditional racing stripe, just down the fold of the bonnet where there's a crease.
Look, burnt orange and black always go well together.
Yeah, I think so.
That's it. Yeah,
I wasn't going burnt. I went blaze.
Oh well, burnt black.
It's the theme.
Could see that.
Yes. Anyway, so if there was a couple of call to actions from this blah 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 session.
No, that's last week. This is not blah blah blah.
This is not. Oh no, this is
getting ready for deer.
Go check out Valhalla Tactical.
Yeah,
great site. Heaps of stuff on it. valhallatactical.com.au. Go /brands and you'll see all of the stuff they have, and it's an incredible array of product. So do that, and go and check out High Country Hunters Australia. I got that right. Bill, join his group. It's going places. He's got some pretty cool stuff going on there, and you can win heaps of cool stuff. It's not a hunting club, as far as I'm aware. It's a Facebook page. It's a community group, and lots of people on there helping each other out. So go and do that. And if you're chasing a sling hook for this year's hunting for $20 or $30, something around that, you can go and get one from eBay from some dude that lives in the boonies on solar and makes them for you. He's a top guy. Have a chat to him. He's a good dude. You can find the link to that on our website.
Sure.
So there are 3 cool things you can take away from this.
Sure.
And
I think
that's probably it.
Yeah. Or you can make your own.
You could make your own out of an ice cream container. MacGyver.
And a toaster.
And a toaster. Yeah.
Cool.
Go have the toaster.
Yeah.
Thanks, gents. We're all done. Cool. Thank you.
We're all done?
I think we're done.
Good night.
We're all done. All right. Till next time. Catch you later.